I stood in the foyer of my $960,000 home, the one I built from nothing. Marble countertops gleamed, hardwood floors creaked softly, each detail a testament to years of sacrifice. But at my housewarming, my sister Tamsin shattered the moment. She demanded I hand over my home for her kids, claiming it was wasted on me. Then my mother, Marjorie, delivered the final blow. Pack your bags, Wren. Family comes first. The betrayal stung like a knife, twisting old wounds I thought I'd buried. I was 18 again, homeless, with nowhere to go. I'm Wren Aldridge, and this is the story of how I faced my family's deepest betrayal in the home I earned. At 34, I'm a tech millionaire, a far cry from the scared girl who slept in her car at 18. That night, kicked out by the same family now demanding my house, shaped everything. I clawed my way through college, working 3 jobs, coding until dawn, building a financial app that changed my life. When I sold it, I bought this craftsman home, a sanctuary, a symbol of my triumph over a past that nearly broke me. I invited my family to the housewarming, hoping for closure after years of silence. My sister Tamsin, always the golden child, had lived a life of luxury while I scraped by. My mother, Marjorie, enabled her every step, even when it meant stealing my college fund. I thought success would rewrite our story, that this house could bridge the gap. But deep down, I felt a knot in my stomach, a warning I ignored. Their eyes, when they walked in, held the same calculation I saw the night they forced me out. I wanted to believe they'd changed, that they'd see me, not just what I'd built. I was wrong. That night, old wounds reopened, and I faced a choice, give in again or stand my ground. What happened next wasn't just a family fight, it was a reckoning, one that exposed decades of lies and forced me to redefine what family means. Stay with me as I share how I turned betrayal into strength, and why protecting your peace is never selfish. Growing up in a middle-class Boston neighborhood, I thought we were the picture of the American dream. My name was Sigrid back then, before I became Wren Aldridge at 18, shedding the name tied to a family that would break me. Our house was modest but warm, with a golden retriever named Rusty chasing his tail in the backyard. My parents, Marjorie and Leland, seemed happy, and my older sister Tamsin, 3 years my senior, was the center of their world. From the outside, we were perfect, 2 parents, 2 daughters, a dog, and a picket fence. But cracks were forming, invisible to my 12-year-old eyes. Tamsin was Marjorie's mirror, her golden child. She had Mom's charm, her knack for turning heads. I was quieter, more like Leland, always buried in books or solving puzzles. Marjorie saw Tamsin as the daughter she wanted to be, beautiful, social, destined for a fairy tale life. I was the odd one out, my achievements dismissed as just Sigrid being Sigrid. When I won a math competition at 10, Marjorie barely nodded, but Tamsin's cheerleading trophy got a framed spot on the mantel. I learned early to shrink myself, to expect less. Then, the foundation crumbled. I was 12, sitting at the dinner table, when Leland announced he was leaving. His affair with a coworker had torn the marriage apart. No screaming, no thrown plates, just a quiet unraveling. Marjorie's face hardened, and Tamsin clung to her, while I sat frozen, Rusty's head in my lap. Leland moved out, and Marjorie's bitterness took root. She poured everything into Tamsin, as if perfecting her daughter could erase the pain. By 15, Tamsin was dating Gideon, a young man from a wealthy family. Their romance was Marjorie's obsession, a chance to secure the life she'd dreamed of. When Tamsin married Gideon at 22, Marjorie spent $50,000 we didn't have on the wedding, lavish, glittering, a spectacle. I was 19, working 2 jobs while attending community college, and contributed what I could for my bridesmaid dress. Marjorie brushed off my efforts. "A daughter only gets married once," she said, as if I were an afterthought. I stood at that wedding, smiling through the ache, knowing my place in the family was secondary. The seeds of dysfunction were sown, but the real betrayal was still years away, waiting to shatter my world on my 18th birthday. As Tamsin's life bloomed, mine became a grind. After the divorce, Marjorie managed her boutique downtown, but her focus was Tamsin's growing family. Tamsin and Gideon welcomed their first child, Elton, then Sybil, and later Peregrine. Each birth tightened their hold on Marjorie's heart and wallet. Tamsin's suburban house was too grand, their cars too sleek, their vacations too extravagant. When they hit financial snags, Gideon's bonuses falling short, their spending out of control, Marjorie was their safety net. She'd dip into savings, sell assets, anything to keep Tamsin's dream alive. "Your sister has 3 kids to feed," she'd say. "What do you need money for?" "Books? Use the library." I was 19, juggling 3 jobs to pay for community college. Mornings, I slung coffee as a barista, the steam burning my hands. Afternoons, I tutored high school kids in math, their complaints grating on my frayed nerves. Nights, I typed data entry until my eyes blurred, the glow of the screen my only company. Sleep was a luxury, 4 hours if I was lucky. I didn't complain, I couldn't. Complaining meant admitting I was drowning, and I refused to sink. My scholarships covered tuition, but textbooks, rent, and food were on me. Marjorie's dismissal stung. "You're so independent," she'd say, as if it were a choice, not a necessity. Leland, now in Chicago with his new family, was a ghost. He sent birthday cards with $20 checks, but his calls grew rare. Marjorie made it harder, forgetting to pass on his messages or deleting his voicemails. I felt him slipping away, and it hurt more than I could say. Once, I overheard Marjorie tell Tamsin, "Your father doesn't care about Sigrid. Focus on your family." I swallowed the pain, vowing to build my own future. While Tamsin posted photos of Maldives sunsets, I ate ramen noodles in a cramped apartment, coding websites for extra cash. My 4.0 GPA was my rebellion, proof I could rise without their help. But the strain wasn't just financial, it was emotional. Tamsin's entitlement grew with each child. She'd call Marjorie for money, and Marjorie would oblige, even if it meant ignoring my needs. When I asked for help with a textbook, Marjorie sighed. Tamsin's car broke down. "You'll manage." I did manage, but the resentment simmered. I wasn't jealous of Tamsin's life, I didn't want her mansion or her vacations. I wanted fairness, a scrap of the support she took for granted. My cousin Orla, 3 years younger than me, saw it all. She'd text me late at night, warning me about Marjorie's control. "She's using your college fund for Tamsin's house," Orla wrote once. I brushed it off, too tired to confront the truth. Orla was the only one who noticed my struggle, but I was too stubborn to lean on her. "You don't deserve this," she said at a family gathering, her voice low so Marjorie wouldn't hear. I shrugged, pretending it didn't matter. But it did. Every dollar Marjorie gave Tamsin felt like a theft from my future. The breaking point loomed. My 18th birthday was coming, a milestone I'd hoped would mark a new chapter. I'd been accepted to 3 universities with partial scholarships, my ticket out. I didn't expect a party or gifts, just a moment to breathe. But Marjorie and Tamsin had other plans, ones that would rip my dreams apart and force me to choose between family and survival. That night, I'd learn how far they'd go to put Tamsin first, and how much I'd have to fight to claim my own life. My 18th birthday was supposed to be a milestone, a rare evening off from my 3 jobs, a moment to dream about college. I'd been accepted to 3 universities with partial scholarships, my ticket to a future I'd fought for. But when I walked into our Boston kitchen that Tuesday, the air felt heavy. My mother, Marjorie, and sister, Tamsin, sat at the table, spreadsheets scattered between them, their eyes barely meeting mine. "There's leftover lasagna in the fridge," Marjorie said, her voice clipped, as if I were an interruption. I grabbed a plate, curious, and asked, what are you working on? Marjorie glanced up, her face tight. Just some financial matters. Tamsin and Gideon need a bigger house with Peregrine on the way. I nodded, used to these talks, but then I saw my college paperwork among their documents. A chill ran through me. Why do you have my college fund papers? I asked, my voice trembling. Tamsin sighed, dramatic as always. We might as well tell her, Mom. Marjorie straightened, her eyes carrying that familiar look, the one that always came before she asked me to sacrifice. Sigrid, we need to discuss your college plans, she began, still calling me by the name I'd soon abandon. With Tamsin expecting again, they need a 4-bedroom house. Gideon's bonus fell short, and they're stretched. I sat, silent, the lasagna untouched, already sensing the blow. We need your college fund, Marjorie said flatly. You've got scholarships, and community college is fine. You can transfer later when things aren't so tight. My college fund, the money Leland had set aside before the divorce, the one Marjorie swore was untouchable, was my lifeline. That's my money, I said quietly. Dad saved it for my education. Tamsin rolled her eyes. Don't be selfish, Sigrid. We're talking about a home for your niece and nephews. Should Peregrine sleep in a closet because you want some fancy university? I pushed back, my voice shaking. I've worked so hard for this. I've got a 4.0 GPA, 3 jobs. Those scholarships don't cover everything. Tamsin snapped, take out loans like everyone else. We've got a mortgage. That's life. Marjorie chimed in, community college is economical. You'll manage. Something snapped inside me. Years of being second best, of swallowing my needs, boiled over. No, I said, the word sharp in the air. Marjorie blinked, unaccustomed to defiance. Excuse me, she said. No, I repeated, stronger. That money is for my education. I deserve it. Tamsin laughed, cold and dismissive. Try raising 3 kids before you lecture us on deserving. Tears stung, but I held them back. This isn't fair, I said. Marjorie stood, her chair scraping the floor. This isn't a negotiation, Sigrid. Your sister has a family. Either accept it or pack your bags. You're 18 now. The ultimatum hung like a guillotine. Tamsin smirked, certain I'd fold, as I always had. But something broke, a lifetime of compliance shattered. I'll pack, I said, my voice steady despite the fear. I walked to my room, the weight of their betrayal heavier than the suitcase I'd soon carry into the night. That night, I left the only home I'd known, my suitcase stuffed with clothes, a laptop, and a few documents. Family photos stayed on the walls, they didn't feel like mine anymore. Marjorie appeared in my doorway as I zipped my bag. You're being ridiculous, she said. Sleep on it, and we'll talk tomorrow. I looked at her, the mother who'd chosen Tamsin over me, and said, there's nothing to talk about. I wheeled my suitcase past her, grabbed my backpack, and stepped into the February cold. No one called after me. No one tried to stop me. I drove to a Walmart parking lot, the safest place I could think of, and curled up in my car. My work uniform was my pillow, the hum of distant traffic my lullaby. Boston winters are brutal, and the chills seeped through the windows, but it was nothing compared to the coldness I'd left behind. For 2 weeks, I lived like this, working as a barista, tutor, and data entry clerk by day, sleeping in my car at night, showering at a gym where I'd gotten a discount membership. I told no one, not even my cousin Orla, who'd warned me about Marjorie's schemes. Shame kept me silent. I'd been erased by my own family, and admitting it felt like surrender. Each morning, I'd force a smile at the coffee shop, hiding the exhaustion. Afternoons, I tutored kids, their math problems a distraction from my own. Nights, I typed data until my fingers ached, saving every penny for a future I couldn't yet see. I was invisible, a ghost in my own life, but I refused to break. On the 15th day, everything changed. Professor Diane Reynolds, my computer science teacher, found me dozing in the library between classes. Her kind eyes saw through my facade. "Sigrid, are you okay?" she asked gently. The dam broke. I told her everything, the ultimatum, the car, the loneliness. She didn't hesitate. That evening, she drove me to her house and showed me her guest room. "It's yours until you figure things out," she said. "No one should face this alone." Diane became more than a teacher. She was my mentor, my advocate, the first person who saw my worth without conditions. She helped me secure scholarships, navigate financial aid, and land an internship that would shape my future. In her home, I found safety, but more than that, I found strength I didn't know I had. Orla called a week later, her voice trembling. "I should have done more to stop them," she said, guilt-heavy. I reassured her, "You tried. That's more than they did." Those weeks in my car taught me I was truly alone, but also that I could survive. Diane's kindness showed me chosen family could outshine blood. That night at 18 redefined me, not as a victim, but as someone who'd fight for her own life, no matter the cost. After that night at 18, when I left my family behind, I wasn't sure I'd ever feel whole again. But I refused to let their betrayal define me. I renamed myself Ren Aldridge, a new identity for a new life, and poured everything into my future. With Professor Diane Reynolds' support, I enrolled in a state university, majoring in computer science. Scholarships covered tuition, but I still worked 3 jobs, barista, tutor, data entry clerk, to pay for books, rent, and food. My days blurred into a cycle of classes, work, and coding until dawn. Sleep was scarce, but determination wasn't. My 4.0 GPA was my rebellion, proof I could thrive without Marjorie or Tamsin's approval. In my sophomore year, I met Corinne, a brilliant classmate with a sharp wit and a dream to change the world. We bonded over late-night study sessions, fueled by cheap coffee and shared ambition. One night, over cold pizza, we sketched an idea for Fiscally, an app to help young adults manage money, something I wished I'd had when I was paying rent with tips. Corinne's optimism balanced my grit, and together, we turned our dorm room brainstorm into a prototype. Building Fiscally wasn't glamorous. We coded in a cramped apartment, surrounded by ramen wrappers and second-hand laptops. Our first pitch to investors was a disaster. A smug venture capitalist laughed, saying, "What do 2 college kids know about finance?" His words stung, but they lit a fire. We refined the app, won a university grant, and landed a small angel investment. By senior year, Fiscally had thousands of users, mostly students like us, desperate for tools to navigate debt and budgets. Tech blogs noticed, and suddenly, we weren't just kids anymore, we were founders. After graduation, Corinne and I moved to a tiny office, still pinching pennies. We faced endless rejections, sleepless nights, and moments of doubt. But we kept going, driven by the users who emailed us, saying Fiscally had saved them from overdraft fees or helped them afford rent. At 28, we got the call we dreamed of. A major fintech company offered to acquire Fiscally for millions. I remember signing the papers, my hands shaking, Corinne grinning across the table. Overnight, I was a millionaire, a far cry from the girl who'd slept in her car. The money didn't erase the past, but it gave me choices. I paid off my student loans, donated to Diane's scholarship fund, and invested wisely. Fiscally's success wasn't just financial, it was proof I could build something lasting, something my family couldn't take. But a part of me still yearned for closure. I wondered if my achievements could bridge the gap with Marjorie and Tamsin, if they'd finally see me. That hope, naive as it was, led me to the next chapter, buying a home that would become the stage for their deepest betrayal yet. With fiscally sale behind me, I stood at a crossroads. At 32, I had wealth, freedom, and a life I'd built from ashes. But I didn't have a home, not the kind that felt like mine, not the kind I could sink roots into. I'd spent years in rented apartments, always temporary, always ready to move on. Now, I wanted permanence, a sanctuary that said, "Ren, you've made it." I spent months searching, driving through quiet neighborhoods, imagining a life beyond survival. Then I found it, a craftsman bungalow, $960,000, with hardwood floors, a wraparound porch, and marble countertops that gleamed under soft light. Walking through that house, I felt something new, pride. Every detail, the stained glass windows, the backyard oak, the cozy fireplace, was a reward for years of sacrifice. I signed the closing papers, my heart pounding, and moved in alone, filling the space with books, plants, and memories of my journey. Corinne threw a housewarming party for our friends, but I kept thinking about my family. I hadn't spoken to Marjorie or Tamsin in years, not since the night I left at 18. Leland, my father, sent occasional emails from Chicago, but we were strangers. Yet, a part of me believed success could heal old wounds. Against Corinne's advice, I invited my family to a second housewarming. "Ren, they hurt you before," Corinne warned, her voice gentle but firm. "What makes you think they've changed?" I brushed it off, clinging to hope. "Maybe seeing this house, seeing me, will make them proud," I said. Deep down, a knot tightened in my stomach, but I ignored it. I sent invitations to Marjorie, Tamsin, Gideon, and their kids, Elton, Sybil, and Peregrine. I even invited my cousin Orla, who tried to warn me about Marjorie's schemes years ago. Orla replied with a text, "I'm proud of you, but Tamsin's jealous. She's been struggling since Gideon's job slowed down. Be careful." Her words echoed Corinne's, but I pushed them aside. I wanted to believe a house could rewrite our story, that Tamsin's kids could play in my backyard, that Marjorie could see me as more than a means to an end. I spent weeks planning the party, hiring caterers, setting up string lights, imagining laughter filling the rooms. I told myself this was closure, a chance to show them I'd thrived despite their betrayal. But hope blinded me. I didn't see the calculation in Tamsin's RSVP, the way she'd been tracking my success through family gossip. I didn't know Marjorie had been feeding her resentment, whispering that my wealth was unfair, that I owed them for raising me. Orla tried to warn me again at a family gathering weeks before. "Tamsin's in debt," she said quietly. "Marjorie's pushing her to ask you for help." I shrugged it off, too focused on my dream of reconciliation. "They wouldn't dare," I said, but my voice lacked conviction. The housewarming was set, the stage prepared. I thought I was opening my home to family, but I was walking into a trap. What happened that night wasn't just a repeat of the past, it was a reckoning, one that would force me to face their entitlement head-on and decide who I'd let into my hard-won life. The housewarming was meant to be a celebration, a moment to share my hard-won sanctuary with those I cared about. My $960,000 craftsman home buzzed with life that evening, its hardwood floors polished, marble countertops gleaming under warm lights. I'd spent weeks preparing, hanging string lights on the wraparound porch, arranging catered trays of appetizers, curating a playlist of soft jazz. My tech colleagues mingled with neighbors, their laughter echoing through rooms I'd filled with books and dreams. Professor Diane Reynolds, my mentor and surrogate mother, arrived early, her proud smile grounding me. Corinne, my best friend and fiscally co-founder, kept the mood light, joking about my newfound domestic side. But beneath the joy, a knot tightened in my stomach. I'd invited my family, Marjorie, Tamsin, Gideon, and their kids, Elton, Sybil, and Peregrine, hoping this house could mend our fractured past. It had been 14 years since I'd left home at 18, my college funds stolen, my trust shattered. I'd barely spoken to them since, just polite texts or awkward holiday calls. Yet, I believed my success could rewrite our story, that they'd see Ren Aldridge, not the Sigrid they'd discarded. Corinne warned me again that morning. They hurt you before, Ren. Don't expect miracles. I brushed it off, clinging to naive hope. As guests filled the house, I scanned the door, my pulse quickening. Then they arrived. Tamsin walked in first, her designer heels clicking, her eyes sweeping the foyer with a calculation I recognized from our childhood. Gideon followed, his smile strained, their 3 kids trailing behind. Elton, now 14, looked bored, earbuds dangling. Sybil, 11, clutched a sketchbook, her shyness mirroring my own at her age. Peregrine, 8, darted upstairs, chasing a neighbor's kid. Marjorie entered last, her posture rigid, her gaze lingering on the chandelier. I greeted them warmly, ignoring the chill in their responses. "Welcome to my home," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. My cousin Orla arrived shortly after, her presence a quiet comfort. She'd warned me about Tamsin's jealousy, about their financial struggles since Gideon's banking career stalled. "I'm here for you," Orla whispered, squeezing my hand. I nodded, grateful, but my focus was on Tamsin. She moved through the house like she owned it, commenting on the kitchen's size, the backyard's potential. "This place is massive," she said loudly, drawing eyes. I forced a smile, thinking she was impressed. But her tone held an edge, one I'd heard before, the night she and Marjorie took my future. The party hummed along, but I couldn't shake the unease. Tamsin and Marjorie stayed close, their hushed conversations stopping when I approached. Gideon seemed distracted, checking his phone, avoiding my attempts at small talk. The kids were the only bright spot. Sybil showed me her drawings, and I promised Elton a coding lesson. For a moment, I let myself believe this could work, that family could mean something new. But as I stepped to the center of the living room to give a toast, Tamsin's eyes locked on mine, and I knew. The trap was set, and I'd walked right into it. I stood in my living room, glass in hand, ready to thank my guests for sharing this milestone. The room quieted, faces turning toward me, colleagues, neighbors, Diane, Corinne, all smiling. My home felt alive, a testament to years of sacrifice, from sleeping in my car to selling fiscally for millions. I began my speech, my voice steady despite the knot in my chest. "This house isn't just a place to live," I said. "It's proof you can rebuild after everything's taken from you. Thank you for being here to celebrate that with me." Before I could finish, Tamsin stepped forward, her heels sharp against the hardwood. She grabbed my arm, not gently, her smile tight. "Can I say something, Ren?" she asked, her voice loud enough to carry. The room stilled, glasses pausing mid-sip. I nodded, confused, but her grip told me this wasn't a toast. "Sure, Tamsin," I said, my throat tightening. She turned to the crowd, her posture commanding, as if she were the host. "This house is incredible," she began, gesturing to the vaulted ceilings, the marble island visible in the kitchen. "It's massive, perfect for a family. Which is why it feels so empty with just Ren here." A murmur rippled through the guests. I froze, my glass trembling. Tamsin's words landed like a slap, but she kept going, her voice dripping with false sincerity. "Gideon and I have 3 kids, Elton, Sybil, Peregrine. We're bursting at the seams in our little townhouse. This place, with its 4 bedrooms, huge backyard, great schools nearby, it's everything they need. Ren's single, no kids. She doesn't need all this space." She paused, her eyes locking on mine, daring me to interrupt. "So, I'm asking her, as her sister, to do what's right. Let us have this house for our family. She can get a condo downtown, something more practical." The room was silent, the air sucked out. Corinne's jaw dropped, Diane's hand gripped her glass. I felt every eye on me, waiting for my response. Before I could speak, Marjorie stepped beside Tamsin, her voice calm but cutting. "Ren, family comes first," she said, echoing the words she'd used at 18 when she took my college fund. "You've done well, but Tamsin's kids deserve a home like this. You're young, you'll buy another. Pack your bags and do the right thing." I stood there, my heart pounding, transported back to that kitchen table at 18. The same entitlement, the same dismissal of my worth, now played out in front of my guests. Orla moved toward me, her face pale. "Tamsin, this is wrong," she said, her voice shaking. Tamsin spun on her, snapping, "Stay out of it, Orla. You've never had kids, you don't get it." Orla flinched but didn't back down, her loyalty a flicker of light in the chaos. Gideon shifted uncomfortably, his eyes on the floor, as if he'd known this was coming but couldn't stop it. The betrayal was a physical weight, crushing my chest. Tamsin's words, "my house empty, my life practical," cut deeper than I'd expected. They didn't see my home as mine, just another resource to claim, like my college fund years ago. I wanted to scream, to throw them out, but I held still, my mind racing. This wasn't just about a house. It was about every sacrifice I'd made, every night I'd gone hungry, every dream I'd fought for. They thought they could take it all again, that I'd bend as I had before. But I wasn't that scared girl anymore. I'd built this life, brick by brick, and I'd be damned if they'd tear it down. I set my glass on the table, my hands steady despite the rage inside. "I'm not done with my toast," I said, my voice low but firm. Tamsin smirked, thinking she'd won. Marjorie nodded, expectant, as if I'd agree to pack my bags right there. The guests watched, some horrified, others confused, the tension thick enough to choke on. I took a breath, knowing what I'd do next would change everything, not just for me, but for everyone in that room. I walked to the living room TV, my steps deliberate, the silence deafening. Tamsin's smirk lingered, Marjorie's eyes followed me, certain I'd cave. But I was done being their sacrifice. I pulled up a file on my laptop, connected it to the screen, and pressed play. Documents filled the TV, legal papers, credit reports, a police report, each one a piece of the truth they'd buried. "Before I respond," I said, my voice cutting through the room, "everyone here deserves to know who's asking me to give up my home." The first document was a restraining order I'd filed at 19, after Marjorie and Tamsin's harassment followed me to college. They called my professors, my boss, claiming I owed them money, I said. I had to protect myself. Next, credit reports showing $48,000 in fraudulent debt, credit cards, loans, all opened in my name when I was 18, still living in my car. "I paid this off," I said, while working 3 jobs, eating ramen, sleeping 4 hours a night. I didn't press charges because they were family. That was my mistake. The final document was a police report, detailing their identity theft. Gasps rippled through the room. Curran's hand covered her mouth, Diane's eyes blazed with anger. Tamsin's face drained of color, her smirk gone. Marjorie stammered, "This is private, Ren." I turned to her, my voice steady. "You made it public when you demanded my house in front of my guests. You stole my future once. You'll never do it again." Gideon stood frozen, his eyes on the screen. "Tamsin," he said, his voice breaking, "you told me that money was a gift from your mother." Tamsin's head snapped toward him, her composure cracking. "Gideon, you don't understand," she started, but he cut her off, his face a mix of shock and betrayal. Orla stepped forward, her voice firm. "I told you to stop, Tamsin. I told Ren years ago, but no one listened." Her words hung heavy, a testament to her loyalty, to the family I still had. The room felt electric, every guest a witness to decades of lies unraveling. I faced Tamsin and Marjorie, my voice unwavering. "This house is mine. I earned every inch of it, every floorboard, every window, every dream it holds. You don't get to take it, not now, not ever. Tamsin opened her mouth, but no words came. Marjorie's eyes darted to the guests, her control slipping. They'd played their hand, expecting me to fold, but I'd changed the game. I turned to the crowd, my heart pounding but my resolve ironclad. I'm not packing my bags, I said. This is my home, and I'm staying. If anyone doesn't like that, the door's open. The words landed like a gavel, final and unyielding. Tamsin's face twisted, Marjorie's shoulders slumped, and for the first time, I saw them not as family, but as strangers who'd underestimated me. The confrontation wasn't over, but I'd drawn my line, and I'd defend it with everything I had. The silence after my speech was deafening, the weight of truth hanging heavy in my living room. Tamsin's face, drained of color, twisted with rage and shame as she grabbed her purse and stormed out, her heels echoing on my hardwood floors. Marjorie followed, her shoulders slumped, unable to meet my eyes or those of the guests who'd witnessed their unraveling. They didn't say a word, didn't defend themselves. The documents on the TV, the restraining order, the $48,000 in fraudulent debt, the police report of their identity theft, had stripped them bare. My home, my sanctuary, stood firm as they left, a line drawn they couldn't cross. Gideon stayed behind, his face a mask of shock. He approached me, his voice low, almost broken. Wren, I didn't know about the debt, the theft. Tamsin told me the money was a gift from Marjorie. I believed him, his eyes held a betrayal I knew too well. I'm sorry, he said, and I nodded, not ready to absolve but willing to listen. He asked to speak with my financial advisor, wanting clarity on their tangled finances. I agreed, but my focus was elsewhere, on the kids, Elton, Sybil, and Peregrine, who'd watched from the stairs, confused by the chaos. I approached them, my heart aching. This isn't about you, I said softly. Sybil clutched her sketchbook, nodding, while Elton shrugged, his earbuds a shield. Peregrine asked, Are we moving here? I knelt, smiling despite the pain. No, buddy, but you'll visit, okay? I couldn't let Tamsin's choices rob them of an aunt. I offered Gideon a deal. I'd set up education trusts for the kids, managed independently, ensuring Tamsin couldn't touch the funds. It was my way of loving them without enabling the greed that had torn us apart. Gideon accepted, gratitude in his eyes, a fragile bridge between us. Orla lingered, her presence a quiet strength. Later that night she called me, her voice thick with guilt. I should have done more to stop them, she said. I thought warning you was enough. I reassured her, you saw me when they didn't. That's more than I meant it. Orla's loyalty, her pain at my pain, reminded me I wasn't been entirely alone. My guests, Corinne, Diane, colleagues, rallied around me, their support without judgment. Diane hugged me tightly, whispering, You're stronger than they'll ever be. Their belief in me as I faced the wreckage of that night. The party ended early, the string lights dimming as guests left. I stood alone in my kitchen, the marble countertops cold under my hands, questioning if I'd been too harsh. Corinne stayed, reading my thoughts. You didn't start this fire, Wren, she said. You just put it out. Her words anchored me, a reminder that protecting my peace wasn't selfish. Tamsin and Marjorie's exit didn't erase the hurt, but it marked a shift. I'd stood my ground, and for the first time, I felt the weight of their expectations lift, leaving room for something new, boundaries, built on truth, not guilt. The days after the housewarming were quiet, my home a refuge as I processed what I'd lost, and gained. I didn't hear from Tamsin or Marjorie, their silence louder than their demands. I didn't chase them. Instead, I turned inward, seeking clarity through therapy with Dr. Jennifer Blake, a steady guide who'd help me navigate guilt and anger. Forgiveness doesn't mean access, she told me during one session. It means freedom for you. Her words became my mantra, a reminder that loving family didn't require sacrificing myself. I could choose who entered my life, and on what terms. I focused on the kids first. Elton, Sybil, and Peregrine didn't deserve to lose an aunt because of their parents' choices. I invited them to my house, starting small. Elton, 14 and reserved, joined me for coding lessons, his sharp mind soaking up Python like I once had. Sybil, 11, shared her science fair project, her eyes lighting up when I offered to buy supplies. Peregrine, 8, dragged me to the backyard, insisting we hunt for dinosaur fossils. Their laughter filled my home, softening the edges of that painful night. I set up their education trusts, ensuring their futures were secure, a gift free of strings. Gideon and I kept in touch, cautious but honest. He was navigating his own betrayal, questioning Tamsin's lies. We met for coffee, talking about the kids, his job struggles, and slowly, a respect grew. He wasn't my family yet, but he was trying, and that was enough for now. My father, Leland, reached out too, his emails from Chicago turning into calls. I failed you, he admitted, his voice heavy. I didn't forgive him fully, but I let him in, one conversation at a time, setting boundaries to protect my heart. Orla became a constant, her texts and visits a lifeline. She shared her own struggles with Marjorie's control, and we bonded over our shared scars. "You're my real family," she said one night over wine, and I felt it too, a chosen sister, not bound by blood but by truth. Therapy helped me see that family wasn't obligation, it was mutual respect. Tamsin started therapy, Gideon told me, but I kept my distance. Her change, if real, would take time, and I wasn't ready to risk my peace. Marjorie resisted, sending guilt-laced texts I left unanswered. Dr. Blake's voice echoed, "You don't owe them access." My home became a haven for new memories. I hosted dinners with Corinne and Diane, taught Elton to debug code on my porch, sketched with Sybil in the living room. Each moment rebuilt what Tamsin and Marjorie had tried to tear down. I wasn't naive anymore, I knew some wounds wouldn't heal, some bridges wouldn't mend. But I was free, no longer the girl who'd packed her bags at 18. I'd learned to love from a distance, to protect my sanctuary, and to choose family who saw my worth. That night at the housewarming hadn't broken me, it had shown me how far I'd come, and how much I'd never let go. As I sit on my wraparound porch at dusk, the fireflies blinking in the yard, my $960,000 home feels like more than a house. It's my sanctuary, a testament to a life rebuilt from the ashes of betrayal. That housewarming night, when Tamsin demanded I give it up and Marjorie told me to pack my bags, wasn't the celebration I'd planned. It was a reckoning, one that forced me to face the truth about my family and the strength I'd earned. I'm Wren Aldridge, no longer the scared Sigrid who slept in her car at 18, but a woman who knows her worth. The confrontation didn't erase the pain of my past, Marjorie's favoritism, Tamsin's entitlement, the $48,000 in stolen dreams they left me to pay off. But it freed me from their expectations. Therapy with Dr. Jennifer Blake taught me a truth I carry close: forgiveness doesn't mean letting them back in. It means letting go of the guilt that kept me tethered to their chaos. Family isn't obligation, Dr. Blake said. It's mutual respect. Those words reshaped my world. I learned to love Tamsin and Marjorie from a distance, without sacrificing my peace. Tamsin's in therapy now, Gideon tells me, taking slow steps toward change. I'm cautiously open to her efforts, but my boundaries are firm. Trust is earned, not owed. Marjorie resists, her texts laced with guilt, but I don't respond. I don't need her approval anymore. My real family is here: Corinne, who stood by me through Fiscalise Rise, Diane, who gave me a home when I had none, Orla, whose loyalty never wavered, and Elton, Sybil, and Peregrine, whose laughter fills my house with hope. Leland's trying too, his calls from Chicago a fragile thread we're weaving. This house, with its hardwood floors and marble countertops, holds new memories now, coding with Elton, sketching with Sybil, chasing Peregrine's imaginary dinosaurs. It's where I host dinners, where I breathe freely, where I've learned that home isn't just a place but a feeling of safety. I was that girl in the Walmart parking lot, invisible and alone, but I'm also the woman who built a tech empire, who stood up to her family, who chose herself. That night didn't break me, it showed me how far I'd come, how much I'd never let go. My story isn't just about a house or a betrayal, it's about protecting your peace, about building a life that's yours, no matter who tries to take it. I share it because I know I'm not alone. Maybe you've faced a family that demanded too much, a parent who guilted you, a sibling who saw your success as theirs to claim. Maybe you've had to draw a line, to say, this is mine, and I'm not giving it up. Those moments define us, and they're worth fighting for. I want to hear from you. What boundaries have you set with family? What did it cost, and what did it free you to become? Drop your story in the comments, I read every one, and your courage inspires others. If this story moved you, hit that like button to let me know. It helps others find this video, maybe someone who needs to hear they're not alone. Subscribe to join me for more stories of overcoming, of turning pain into purpose. Next week, I'll share how therapy helped me forgive without losing myself, a journey that's still unfolding. Share this with someone who's fighting their own battle, someone who needs a reminder that their peace is worth protecting. I've also started a community group on Facebook, a safe space to share your experiences and lift each other up. The link's below, join us, and let's talk about what it means to reclaim your life. Your story matters, and together, we can build something real, something that lasts. Thank you for listening, for staying with me through this night and its lessons. Here's to homes we create, boundaries we hold, and the strength we find within.